this video, this thing I've been waiting for, because I love getting burnt, we're going to do some welding.
We are Lisa and Tim of Old Rope Salvage, and together we are building a tiny off-grid home on wheels from the remains of this 1975 Bedford Firetruck. Last winter, we hired this barn on a farm, took delivery of our truck, set up a workshop, and began the process of dismantling and restoring the vehicle.
Some bits missing.
Beginning with stripping back the cab and removing all the old paint. In our last episode, Tim had started the job of removing and cutting out all of the rust, making up new panels and welding it all back together again. And in this week's episode, the welding continues on the 41 holes in the cab roof and on some of the panels which were removed earlier this year. But first, I'm back in the workshop.
I don't know if you need to tie your hair up, like you don't want to set it on fire.
Okay.
You can wait.
And it's time for me to start earning my welding badge. I've just come back to the workshop after a bit of a break, so I'm easing myself in, but one of the things I did promise Tim a couple of years ago, probably now, I think I might even have signed something to say as much, was that I was actually going to do some welding in the future. So this is my welding training.
Your debut.
Literally welding for dummies today, so...
Yeah, I mean, by no means am I any kind of expert. I'd recommend, it's not necessarily a really difficult thing to do if you're in the half the mind to do something.
That just puts more pressure on me now, so it's not difficult to do.
It's another one of those tools which on the outside looks like it could be quite complicated, but you take a few precautions, be safe. Tie your hair up, like you don't want to set it on fire.
Okay.
It's not the most difficult thing ever to do. Yeah, we're going to do that. And we're going to be using a MIG welder. Basically, it's a torch, lots of electricity, an earth clamp goes on your workpiece, wire is fed out through the end here, and it melts stuff together. It's just like felt tipping with a slightly hotter, more dangerous felt tip.
Okay.
Let's get you set up and as I go out welding. This is auto darkens, meaning that you don't, as you're wearing it, you can see what you're doing. I still like to have a torch around as well because it's still quite dark in here, but you can see what you're doing, and as soon as you strike the arc up on this, basically you're using it, this will then darken down so that it basically doesn't damage your eyesight. It's so bright that it will damage your eyes. And you get something called arcine, and it's painful. Trust me. I was told that you only ever get arcine once because it's so painful you don't do it again. Yeah, I've had it 3 or 4 times. I'm just stupid. So make sure that sits on your head. Nice. And then we'll tighten it up.
Cut the oxygen off to my head.
Alright. Gloves, so you don't burn yourself. And we're going to play around with a little bit of the sheet steel, but I'm gonna clean up some heavier stuff. If you're practicing welding or trying it out for the first time, thicker metal is a lot easier to weld with. So you can practice on anything a bit thicker. When you get used to that, you can move to thin stuff. Like car body works quite hard, it's so thin you burn through it quite easily, but we'll turn your temperature down, your settings down.
I feel quite nervous.
You'll be alright, you just pull the trigger and it's not to worry, not to worry.
I'm excited.
So the earth clamp goes onto your workpiece somewhere. If you're working on a normal car, disconnect the battery. Lots of electricity around it can damage the electronics. And and try and clamp it as close as you can to where you're going to be welding. That's what creates the current, or circulates the current around. Are you right there? Can you see it right? I'll get you a little torch. So you hold the torch like so it's upright to what you're welding, like so, right up and down like that. Now, and then we lean it forward a little bit in the direction we're going to go, so the gas comes out of here and blows over the weld. If you were doing a 45, if you're doing something at an angle, you'd come in between the 2 angles so that you've got it perpendicular, and then back a little bit. Keep a pair of wire cutters handy so you can trim the end off at the time. So basically all you can do is you're going to hold this like that, back a bit and quite close-ish and pull the trigger and just see what happens. And yep, we're going to do that. There you go, it's all yours. Alright, so you're holding it like that angle, and then you're going to come along here a little bit and basically just hold it at one spot, pull the trigger, and you'll get a nice satisfying sort of sound where it goes and then you can stop. Could you see what you were doing? That's brilliant. I mean, that's all we're talking about. It's like, don't go too far up the panel, I might need that bit. Keep down here. I'm running out of steering already. Talking about that's like amazing. Looks like you're doing the truck.
I'm a natural.
So now we've got the generator going, let's flick the kettle on, have a cup of tea, and then think about what we're going to do next.
Okay.
Cool. Is that a cup of tea? Yeah.
I'll have my cup of tea.
You can join two bits of metal together, so I'll clean up this little bit of Dexian here, that edge. So if I put that on there like that, I mean if you were doing this properly, little bits thin bit of metals, you'd try and clamp stuff together. So we got a little like a little V in here, so we're trying to join these two bits of metal together. The angle you're coming in is going to be in between the two, so it's that, yeah? And then just so back a little bit so that it's pointing in the direction you're going. And then you're going to go along and you're going to watch the weld. You can move this around a little bit and you'll see that you're trying to join one bit of metal to the other bit of metal, and that's your goal, is to join them two together. I'm talking about hellfire. Oh, hellfire. Yes, hellfire. That's where I'm bound. I'm talking about hellfire. Oh, hellfire. Yes, hellfire. That's where I'm bound. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's pretty good.
I've got a clue what I'm doing.
Alright, you've just taken two bits of metal and you've ruined both of them. No, you've welded them together. I ain't coming apart in a hurry. To get that apart, I'm going to have to cut that apart now. You can have your bronze welding badge. Yeah.
Right. Let's get that cup sorted then.
Yeah. It's time to fix the engine hatches. Yesterday I cut out a piece of this one. Not shiny. And I thought I've been putting this off a little bit, and I thought the best thing to do is just cut some metal out. I'm keeping the better one for the time being so that I can use that to see what I'm doing. Basically I just cut out all the stuff out of this which has got the rust in it. I take the bracket off, cut it through the centre so that I'd be able to line it up later. Cut out all the bad metal, and now what I'm doing is back to my favourite old thing, cardboard templates. So that's where I'm starting, and I'm just going to work out how I'm going to do this, but I think it's going to be made in a couple of pieces, shaped and then put in as one piece, I think. I don't know, I'll make this up as I go along, but yeah, it's a fiddly little one, but it's also a good practice because one of the doors is going to have a lot of this kind of thing in it. But there's still a bit of rust in here, and it's cleaning up a little bit. I might just have something that will help me out with that. Yeah. A new delivery. Better get it out of the van. Let's splurge some cash. It's another blaster, a normal sand dry blaster this time. Our wet blast system really worked really well. It cleaned out bits that I couldn't get in any other way, and it was really good. And would be fantastic in a cabinet, or if you're doing outside, you know, like just panels on the outside or something, or wheels outside. But it created a lot of mess with this. There was slurry of sand everywhere, and even when it dried out, it wasn't like fine dust. You still had to like sweep it up. Hello, you come to help? I'm gonna see if this works. So yeah, I'm gonna put this together and get some air connected up to it and see if this makes less mess, or probably makes more mess. It's gonna make mess everywhere. We have to build a tent.
The new dry sandblaster is basically a hopper into which you put your media, glass, sand, or whatever you're using, in our case crushed glass. The compressor then pressurises the container and meters out the sand. A lot of air pressure is required to push the sand out through the gun at a high enough speed, so we're hoping it will be alright.
That's the blaster kind of assembled. All we've got to do now is put the crushed glass we've got there inside it and connect it up to the air, the compressor, and see if it works. I should go back and read the instructions and see how much I'm supposed to put in one go. What we need is a big spray booth. We need something. Lisa's Comfort Centre. She won't know.
Why is there a load of sand in this tent?
Queen of Ireland, Friday morning. The Queen of Ireland, Friday morning.
Pretty good. Got a steam there. Got to do all of that now. Sorry. Just got to do all of that now. With my new super clean panel, I'm gonna just weld up a couple of things where there's a split here. There's a bit I cut through here when I had to cut the panel out. A little split there. I'm gonna just tack them up so that it's nice and positioned and straight. And I've transferred my little cardboard bits. I'm going to make this in 2 bits at the moment and see how it goes. Got a piece that sits on the inside, and then a bit here which will make up the end of the metal bit. And I'll probably work them as I go, I suppose, and I won't weld them together until I know they all fit. And I'll try and make this as one piece before it's welded in, so where this one joins this one, I'll be able to cut out the inside, tidy that all up so that it doesn't have moisture sit in it again. So the idea is just need that in metal, get that little bit back on, lick of paint, and job's a good one, and move on to the second one. In the air. I have transferred the cardboard templates onto bits of steel. I've done it in 2 pieces because it would have been pretty complicated. I don't think it was within my skill set to make that out of 1 bit, so I've opted to go for 2 pieces. I haven't welded in the outside panel yet. I'm going to leave that just for a minute so I can set these into place. And what I'm going to do is just tack this bit in so it's in exactly the position I want it. I'm going to then tack this piece onto that bit into the place where I need it, and then remove both these bits out, weld them up fully, and then clean up the inside where it's a bit rough cut at the minute so that it makes a nice sort of single panel repair piece with no water traps or anything in it. I'm probably then going to weld the outside piece on and allow me to get it nice and flat and still be able to get on the inside to do any planishing or to clean it up. Then we'll get that in, and then the last bit is the bracket, which will go on there. This is the bracket that holds the latch, which holds it shut. I don't suppose it matters if it was a little tiny bit out, but it looks pretty close. And because I've cut it through the centre, I can use something round just to make sure it's, you know, perfectly, the cuts that I put in here are the right distance apart. And I can always get the latch and just make sure that fits in before I weld it up fully. So yeah, just got to tack that in and do some stuff. Get in there. Going to take a little time, doing a little bit at a time, so we don't get too much heat in it, which could completely put it out of shape and not allow it to fit back in again. So I'm just going to do a tack here and a tack there, leave it to cool down and keep coming back to it. Eventually we'll get welded all the way up. Welding these little holes here and a couple of little bits I put in to get around the corner. Give it a clean up, tack at a time. The pieces together, cleaned it up a little bit at the moment. I'll probably do a little bit more cleaning up on this, and so now I have a one piece panel. Bits here, I'm gonna put and that fits in quite nicely now. Lines up everywhere, so I know I can just drop that in and weld it. So I'll probably go ahead and do the outside bit, the bit that shows. The bit that we've got to be careful not to get too much heat in it and warp it all and have a massive warpy panel. So slowly with that one. So once that bit's on the outside, just drop this on in the middle. And yeah, that's pretty cool. That was a fiddly little bit really, but it kind of goes to show if you spend a little bit of time with the cardboard and bending things around a little bit, it's quite satisfying really. Little by little, slowly does it. Ho ho. Ho ho. Yeah, good. Could just carry on like that. Keep spotting it around until the whole panel has been very slowly all tacked together, and then we can clean it up. It should be fine. We could also just take the tops off these welds and planish it down with a hammer, which I might do. I'm having a play, I'm practicing all the time, you know, learning, trying to get better. So I might go to that. Right, that's the welding done on there and ground down a bit. Not my finest work ever, but you know, a little skim of something over that and you'll never notice, apparently, so I'm told. It hasn't warped the panel too much, at least, so it's just yeah, it'll be good, and yeah, pretty good penalty. So yeah, we'll put the bit on the inside now. Not my best bit of work ever. That's rubbish. Who did that? Who did that? You did. Sack 'em. It's welded in, it's not pretty. Gonna grind it all down, clean it up, and yeah, the other side's alright still. Plug welded it through the bottom, and so it's just welded up around this way, around that bit, to join it to make it like the original panel, and then it's just welded through the bottom, so that none of it actually welds through this panel like any of this bit. It's tight. But I think that's good. It's quite rigid. Obviously all the rust has gone now, so that's the whole point of it, isn't it, really? Get rid of the rust. Right, I'll clean it up. And the last bit is just to put the bit on the top. And then it's finished. Then we'll drive it. Oh, no, this bit finished. Still got to do more bits. Inside, ground down, cleaned up a bit. Just gonna put the plate on here and that'll be finished. So yeah, I've put some jewel holes in here. This is where the factory originally would have spot welded it. And so I'll weld through those into the metal below. So yeah, that welds it back on. Look. I think we're finished. Might hit it with a hammer a few more times. Brackets all back on. It's pretty much in line with where it was. I mean, it's on the inside, so you're not going to see it very much anyway. The important thing is that the rust's out of it. But yeah, should be good on the outside anyway. That's the bit you see. On to the next one. Yeah, one more of these to do. And then still the two doors. Cleaned the holes up on the inside and the outside, but I'm going to go around the inside of the hole just in case there's paint left in it. I want these nice and clean. Any contamination from paint or dirt will potentially make our weld less good. It's noisy. I'd just like to thank Irene and Bill for my fabulous Christmas present. So is it 41 holes now? Okay, where are we then? So try one of these little ones here. Some maybe this one. Yeah? Tell me when you're ready.
Ready?
Well, when she wrapped her loving arms around my neck on the dance floor at Chelsea's bar, I should have turned her away, but how was I to see? I was fire and she was gasoline.
Okay.
We've got 41 of these to do. 41 holes in the roof.
I could try turning the wire speed up a little bit, but that's quite a lot of time in one spot.
Is that bad?
Not great.
Why was it a lot of time?
It's a big hole.
Oh, okay.
I'd probably just do like half a hole at a time with these bigger ones. Alright, go further forward, like to this one here.
Alright. This one?
Yep.
But I would go mad when she would turn mean. I was was firing, she was gasoline. Yeah, I was firing, she was gasoline.
Right, over here, this one.
In the end, welding the holes in the roof was a simple enough task, particularly following the work which Tim had already done on the other parts of the cab. Tim had waited for me to return to the workshop before tackling the roof, as it was so much easier with me there to stop the weld from dripping through the holes and into the cab. To do this, I used a copper strip pressed against the inside of the roof. This caught the weld, and being copper, the weld didn't stick to it. So we were left with a nice neat finish, and that also finally completed all the welding on the cab.
Like that.
With the welding on the cab now finished, we're moving forward, and next time we'll be building this.
So we've got a big flappy thing. We've got a big flappy bit of...
Yeah.
As long as we can stop any wind from coming.
I wish I could skip forward in our vlogs to see if this is a complete failure or not a failure. Oh no, I've knocked the roof down! What's going on? The roof's falling down! Let's get it back!
Join us to find out if the big flappy thing survives and how we get on with the long anticipated sandblasting of the cap. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Tim insists that I wear safety gear on the inside because of the sparks that are flying, so I've got my goggles and I've got my safety hat. Let's go.
Little Beagles! Let the sparks fly.
You like your catfish black and you serve it on a platter. You like the truth, I reckon you serve it on a platter. My heart was just for breaking, I served it on a platter. The truth is for the taking. The truth is for the taking.